When I saw this announced I saw it on Twitter first. I literally, no joke, thought it was satire. And I laughed. I laughed because I thought, that's funny. That's a hilarious joke. Woo!
Well, April, if I said Matt Gaetz nominated to be Attorney General and Lauren Boebert nominated to be Department of Education Secretary, whatever, which one would you actually believe? They both seem like they're fiction. The circus is here, April. The circus has come to town. Oh, friends, happy Friday. Welcome to the weekly recap with me, Tim Whitaker, and my wonderful co-host, April Ajoy. April, good to see you, friend.
Good to see you, too. No glasses today.
I'm trying. I have contacts in today. I have not taken them out yet. I usually only wear contacts for the gym, but decided that I'll keep them in for this recording. So I don't know. I'm feeling like changing it up a little bit. So we have a very full show. We got to talk about Trump's picks for cabinet positions.
Yes.
We got to talk about the media problem of left-wing versus right-wing media. And then also, April, I have some big repentance today. I have some big repentance. Maybe one of the biggest in my life that I need to get to. So
Wow.
I know. Let's run the stinger and we'll get into it. By the way, I will say blueberry coffee is only needed more in the world after Trump's reelection. So
Interesting.
I hope everyone gets a taste of comfort in a 7-Eleven cup with blueberry coffee and French vanilla creamer.
You know, there are some places that don't have 7-Eleven. Like Lexington does not have one. What am I supposed to do, Tim?
Build one. Build it and the people will come, April.
Oh, gosh. No, I'm fine with my homemade coffee. Thank you.
Speaking of which, I saw you this weekend.
You sure did. I made you my homemade coffee.
You did. It was very good. It was very good. We took the family to visit you and your family. We had a melding of the families, if you will, because you know, April, that you are a far left progressive Christian masquerading as a moderate, and your partner Beecher is a trans activist, a radical trans activist. Yeah. So I had to inspect this for myself. Yeah, I had to say, you know what? I care about data and facts. Let me drive down to Kentucky with my family to verify fact or fiction. So that's what we did. We had a great time.
Yeah. So what was the verdict? Is Beecher a radical trans activist?
They are not. It turns out they are not a radical trans activist. They're just a wonderful partner, a wonderful parent. They're just a wonderful human being. So no radical stuff going on over there, friends. I have fact-checked this. Andy, no, you can suck it because this is straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of fun with y'all, and our kids got along. My girls loved your boys.
Good.
And they were sad that y'all were leaving.
Well, in the beginning, I was a little nervous because the kids were tired and like the girls really wanted to play, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope that we all get along, and they did. Now our kids are younger, right? Ours are 4 and 2, and yours are what, 8 and 5? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
which my 5-year-old was
great.
In heaven because she's the littlest, and most of like in the neighborhood friend group, she's the youngest, and she was living to have a little child to take care of.
I love that. I do have a couple stories from this trip that I need to share. First off, my partner, Sarah, she's really into cryptids. Do you know what those are, April? Cryptids?
No.
It's like Bigfoot. It's like,
oh, yes.
Things like that. This is not my vibe. But because we're driving from New Jersey to Kentucky, we go through West Virginia, and Sarah's like, oh, Mothman. Can we go see Mothman? And I'm like, who the hell is Mothman? So it turned out it was only a half hour out of our way. So we did. We got to see Mothman. Sarah was super happy. She was super ecstatic that she got to see the statue, and we got some souvenirs. She got a t-shirt. So that was a highlight of the trip. I have a couple lowlights, though, that I need to share.
Share
away.
away.
Okay. Here we go. So because we have kids that are so young, we decided to split up the 10-hour drive on the way to you. We figured we leave Thursday, drive for 5 hours, find a hotel, and then drive another 5 hours on Friday and get to you by like 2 or 3. So that's the plan. We get the kids in the car. we're driving. We leave around like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock on Thursday because my thought was get the kids in the car when they're starting to wind down, have them pass out, and then hopefully we're smooth sailing. So we're driving. Things are going okay. We get the kids some chicken nuggets and French fries because they love that whenever we're driving. Everything's cool. They kind of fall asleep, but they're kind of getting grumpy now. They're waking up and they're uncomfortable. So it's like 9:30. I say, Sarah, we should probably find a hotel. Let's go ahead and crash for the night. So we get to the hotel. Of course, Dad comes prepared. I have my laptop. I have an HDMI cable out so we can watch Moana on the TV because they love watching Moana before bed. So I have Harper, our youngest, next to me in my bed, in the queen bed, and Sarah has Tim, our oldest, who's 4. We finally all go to bed. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, I hear the sound that no parent wants to hear. I hear the vomit sound. Full on wet puke vomit sound. Now, our kids do not throw up. Even as babies, they never spit up. It's very rare. My oldest threw up all of his chicken nuggets and French fries all over the bed, all over Sarah. I turned the light on and Sarah is just holding
the visual.
Just holding a cup full of puke. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Out of all the times for this poor guy to throw up, it's at a hotel in West Virginia. So we got to put him in the bath. I'm trying to, change out all the sheets and like consolidate everything. So we got through it, we all survived. No, not the end of the world. Tim was fine after that. It was just a one-time thing. So we were thinking maybe it was just a really long travel day and he was kind of out of sorts. No big deal. We tell you that, I'm like, hey, heads up, Tim threw up last night, but no fever, no chills. He's fine. I think we're going to be good. So we visit you. We have a great time, right? We're hanging out. Wow. We made some really funny content that we're going to release pretty soon. We're playing video games. We spoke at Woven Church, had a grand old time. Sunday night comes along. And we all eat dinner together. It's like the last night. Perfect. So the plan was, because you guys have 2 extra guest bedrooms, which is super nice for people with little kids. Sarah takes the 2 boys because they want to sleep next to her in the king size bed. I'm in the other guest bedroom in the queen bed. Sarah texts me at 1 a.m. Harper threw up. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then I find out that your youngest was throwing up, and Beecher was throwing up. So I'm like,
it was.
So I still feel bad. You had to clean so many sheets after we left.
Yeah, our relationship has gone from just professional friend level to you handing me throw up sheets in the middle of the night. I'm like, thank you. I'll take these.
April, take this. I'm so sorry.
Hey, we got through it. Although, miraculously, you and I never got it. And neither did my oldest. We're the only 3.
That's because we are God's anointed, April.
Yeah.
We are God's chosen.
God's favorite.
We have that sought after hedge of protection over us. No weapon against us shall prosper.
Do you ever feel like when everyone else is around you and you somehow just don't get it, you have like, am I better than everyone?
Do I have superior genes?
No, I'm just kidding.
So we had a good time, but yeah, that was a rough night. I mean, that was one of those like, what's real, what's fake? Am I dreaming? Am I awake? Again, like Sarah, my poor wife, puked on twice in like 72 hours. And I still don't know what it was. I don't think it was Tim because it was 3 days after that. And Tim only threw up once, no other symptoms. I just don't know what hit.
Sarah puked at the church.
Oh, right, Sarah. Everyone
before
was
we got that. Yeah.
Our audience is so grossed out right now. They're like,
I know.
Oh God, stop saying the P word. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. You need to make a little marker of like puke stories. You can skip ahead.
Anyway, we had a great time though. It was really nice hanging out and being in person, and we'll definitely do it again. And honestly, we got back in one day. We just hightailed it home.
Yeah.
Kids were fine. It wasn't that bad of a drive, so we're back in our rhythm. Back to the clown show.
I do have to tell you, the clown show. Do you remember when you first got here? I was like, did you see the little pond that's over there you can walk to? And there's 2 little river otters that live there.
Yes.
You remember me telling you that? Okay. So I walked by there a couple days ago after y'all left, and they were swimming up much closer than usual. And I got a good look at them, and they're river rats. they're not river otters.
No.
And if that isn't like, I've been so excited about these river otters. I literally been telling everyone we've got 2 little otters in our pond, because I looked it up and there are some river otters that are in this area of the country. And I had never even heard of a river rat. But yeah,
I didn't know those were
rats.
things.
I mean, they're still kind of cute. They kind of look like a mix between a beaver and a rat. And they're still, aquatic. But yeah, if that's not a metaphor for life right now, like you expect these 2 little river otters, and nope, they're actually river rats. Just
yes,
I'm in my disappointed era. I feel
that and the fact that we drove to the wrong house and almost pulled into their garage.
Oh yeah,
my Apple Maps GPS, usually super solid, brought us to the wrong house. As we're pulling in to the driveway, the garage door opens. I'm thinking, oh, great, they know that we're here. Turns out the homeowners were in the car behind me waiting to get inside of their own garage. I hightailed it so fast. I was so mortified. I was like, Sarah, we got to get out of here. Just run. Like, I don't want to look at them. So, yes, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of shame, a lot of like, I can't believe that I actually did this or that we're here. Yes, it is definitely that phase.
Yeah. Before we get into the circus show, I do think you need to repent for something. Yeah.
I have 2 repentances.
Oh,
big
2.
Ones. Do I have my sound here? Because my computer got all messed up. I don't think I do.
I can just hum the pad.
Go ahead. Okay. I do have 2 big pieces of repentance, and they're both totally embarrassing, and I feel so dumb. The first one is we were at Woven Church speaking, and someone came up to me and said, I have something to tell you. And they said, a long time ago when you were at the Asbury Revival, you told a story about how you met with some people who were in the queer community, and then you met with someone who was in the straight community. And that person was me, and I'm not straight.
No.
Oh no, I am so sorry.
Oh
and
no.
She laughed it off, like she was laughing about it. But I was like, oh my God, I'm mortified. So I repent for that. And also I repent. We need the humor, okay? We need the freaking humor, given the dystopian nightmare that we find ourselves in. Okay, so if you have been listening to the show for a while or following us on YouTube, you know that one of the big gripes that April has had is that her camera consistently gets blurry. And April, if you notice, it looks fine today, doesn't it?
It sure does. It's happened more when we go live, when we've done our live debate shows. Yeah,
when we go live. And, for a while, I'm like, April, you got to check your internet connection, or something isn't adding up.
You were a little dismissive too. You were like, it's not me. It's not my end. It's definitely you got to figure something out over there.
I'm not sure if I was that direct, but I definitely insinuated that my end was secure and yours probably wasn't. I was like, listen, I'm hardwired in. I have an Ethernet cable. It shouldn't be on my end, right? I'm checking my internet. It's fine.
The months that I spent, I even Googled eCam. Is there something wrong? Do I have something incompatible on my Mac that doesn't work with your software? I would run my speed internet tests, which were always fine.
Yep.
And I thought I was going crazy. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Because you said it was only me.
Well, and I overwhelmingly stand by that claim that it was mostly you, which makes sense considering you're my most common person that I run this program with, right?
So, until Andrew a couple weeks ago was also blurry.
Right. I'm thinking to myself, something is wrong. So I pull up my activity monitor, and I'm like, my internet is so it's so slow. What's going on here? And then I started putting pieces together that I'm like, I wonder if I have a bandwidth issue. I'm wondering if something is wrong. So long story short, it was not on April. It was on me. It was on my end. And what the issue was, there were 2 things going on. Number one, I had a very old cable modem that was just outdated that can only give me so much bandwidth. And number 2, I think the internet speed I was on was getting eaten up by my kids streaming on the Apple TV whenever we did this. And so I have since replaced my cable modem. I did a speed test. It went up by tenfold as far as actual speed. And now you look crystal clear, which means that it was on my end. So I have to eat a big pile of crow and say, yum, yum, nom, 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 so tasty. Totally my bad for gaslighting you for a few months.
I do feel a sense of relief of knowing it was not me, because I could not figure it out. I was like, it's all working. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. I am so sorry.
You know what? That is it. You are very sure of yourself, even when you are wrong. But once you realize you are wrong, then you admit it. Not a lot of people do that.
Well, I like to think that whenever I say something, I have data to back it up. I say that often, and so but it's weird. Like, here's the thing. It's not that I was totally wrong for saying it was on you, but my setup led me to believe it wasn't me because, again, I'm hardwired in. I have a direct connection. I'm thinking it doesn't make any sense. But as pieces started falling into place, I'm like, no, something is off. And so, anyway, it's on me. I'm so sorry, friends. I have gaslit my own co-host of my own show for months, but I repent. And so now all is well automatically. I just have to wave the little magic wand, and everything's good.
All is well, and now I'm excited that I can actually go live with you at some point and not be just a giant pixel.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah.
Before we get into the chaos that is the Trump picks, which we are going to get into that, can I break some news?
Breaking news.
Literally, like 20 minutes ago. The Onion has bought Alex Jones InfoWars.
No way!
Alex Jones site is going bankrupt, and so the Onion bought it. The satirical news site planned to turn InfoWars into a parody of itself, mocking weird internet personalities who peddle conspiracy theories and health supplements.
No, this is the best news I've received maybe all year. Okay, hey. I found the article. April, what way to drop a bomb on me.
I know.
The Onion wins Alex Jones InfoWars and bankruptcy auction. The satirical newspaper plans to shutter Jones InfoWars and rebuild the website featuring well-known internet humor writers and content creators, according to a person with knowledge of the sale. I love this. Good riddance, Alex Jones, you freaking charlatan. Ugh. That's the most non-dehumanizing thing I can say.
Yeah,
Jeez.
There are some good things happening in the world. Some terrible people are paying the price.
I hope that these right-wing grifters suck it, because Alex Jones is not only insufferable, he's a liar. The stuff he said about Sandy Hook was so bad. Yeah. He got sued to oblivion, as he should be. And people like Charlie Kirk defended him. Do you know that? People like Charlie Kirk were like, this is a war on free speech. Take a hike, Charlie Kirk. Like, my gosh, the man is a liar who hurts people. Ugh. This makes me so happy. Wow. Wow. I am so... There is a God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That put a pep in my step. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
April, I'm ecstatic. I love this. The Onion buys Alex Jones. That's a win. That's a win.
Yeah. We gotta celebrate these wins. In these times.
Oh my gosh.
We gotta hold on to those little fun stories.
Oh, because the circus really is in town, friends. I mean, when you hire the court jester to take over the kingdom, the kingdom doesn't take care of the court jester. The place becomes a circus. Like that's what happens. Yeah. And some of these, I don't want to go through all of them, but some of these Trump cabinet picks are they're unbelievable. So I want to highlight just 2 or 3 of them today, because I don't want to. And actually, maybe before we do that, April, you and I were talking about the future of this show. We were talking about 2025. We want to find ways to infuse a little more humor, to make this, a little more fun, because I know that the audience is already aware of how dark and gloomy things are going to get, right? Like, we don't need to always be rehashing the same thing over and over. People know about Christian nationalism. Obviously, we'll highlight those things. We have to. That's the core of what we do, and giving people a better path forward in their faith. So we are thinking about ways to tweak the show for 2025, and also really to grow the show. I like our dynamic a ton. You and I have talked about what would it look like if we did this kind of format a little more often for the podcast. So we are, friends, thinking about what next year looks like, and trying to find some ways to have some more lighthearted segments where we can laugh and we can just enjoy each other and just have a good time. So if you have suggestions on maybe segments or bits that you want to see more of, please, you can email us at info@thenewEvangelicals.com. Always happy to hear suggestions, but we are thinking about that for real. I don't know, April. I like doing the show with you. I feel like we have great chemistry, on mic. And after the Christian Nationalist video that we did, some of the impromptu moments that were so good. So we're gonna drop that video later on. Probably
we got to finish editing it. Beecher got really sick.
Yeah, poor Beecher's like vomiting from someone. Oh, from who, April? From who? Who got Beecher sick?
We actually don't know. Who knows? I don't know who Ground Zero was.
Yeah. Probably someone on my end. But we are trying to think about how to make this more of a show format and not just us trying to expose the danger of Christian nationalism. Obviously, we still have to do that, but we need a little bit more.
Yeah.
One thing I thought about, April, is, I think we're at a point now where we should have like a verse of the week. We should bring back a daily Bible verse of the week, but one that like really reinforces the views that we already hold about like social justice and loving our neighbor, because we believe the Bible has a big theme like that. So I'm thinking maybe once a week we just read a Bible verse that's applicable, that would make, our Christian nationalist brethren go, that sounds woke and Marxist.
Yeah, I like that. Have you noticed just a huge uptick in the Christian nationalists or Trump supporting Christian types posting Romans 13, 1 through 2?
Oh, yes. Of course.
Like they haven't, if you're, that's the one where it's like, obey your government, because there's no government that is established that is not established by God. So you have to obey the government. And if you don't obey the government, you're not obeying God. They conveniently didn't post that for the last 4 years.
I saw your bit on that. It was hilarious.
It's everywhere again.
Okay, so why don't we start with our verse of the week? I have a passage to read coming from the word of the Lord. This is James 5. I'm going to read verses 1 through 6. Come now, you rich, like Elon Musk, for example. Weep and cry aloud over the miseries that are coming on you. Your riches have rotted, and your clothing has become moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have rusted, and their rust will be a witness against you. It will consume your flesh like fire. It is in the last days that you have hoarded treasure. Look, the pay you have held back from the workers who mowed your fields cry out against you, and the cries of the reapers have reached the ears of the Lord of heaven's armies. You have lived indulgently and luxuriously on the earth. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter. Dang, James. Assuming James wrote this. You have condemned and murdered the righteous person, although he does not resist you. So there you go, friends. There's some Bible for you. Elon, Trump. I mean,
that deserves some snaps.
Yeah, right. Isn't it crazy how like these verses get overlooked? These verses never get talked about. You could literally write this and think, oh, like Elon Musk, like Jeff Bezos from Amazon. The Bible is clear, friends, and it even says the cries of the reapers have reached the ears of the Lord of heaven's armies. So all the language is there.
Yeah.
The Bible is clear.
The Bible is clear.
There you go. So verse of the week, James 5, 1 through 6. You're welcome.
Let's get into these picks.
Okay. Well, here's the overall list, just so people can see it. Do you want to read these off, April? So people on the podcast can hear it?
Yeah, so Trump put Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Honestly, I don't hate that. Marco, he seems one of the more... not loose cannons out of the bunch. Yeah. Whatever.
And that's saying something.
Yeah. A Kristi Noem who shot her own dog.
Oh, we shouldn't be laughing about that, but like, what? Like
these are the same people though that were really mad about, pushing the lie that immigrants were eating your pets because their pets are so important and special. And I agree. I love pets, but they literally made up this whole narrative that was not true. And now Trump has nominated like an admitted dog killer. She shot her dog, a healthy dog,
just
in her memoir. Yeah. So anyway, so Kristi Noem will be the Secretary of Homeland Security. I'm going to skip those two because we're going to focus on, oh gosh.
Well, why don't you just say them just so we have the full list, then we can go back.
Okay. Pete Hegeseth, who is the weekend Fox News and Friends anchor, and he's a veteran, but I think he's been at Fox News for like a decade now. He is the Secretary of Defense nominee. These are nominees, so they have to be approved by the Senate, I believe. Yep. Matt Gaetz.
That was not a planned laugh. It just really hit me.
Matt, when I saw this announced I saw it on Twitter first. I literally, no joke, thought it was satire. I laughed. I laughed because I thought, that's funny. That's a hilarious joke. Woo!
Well, April, if I said one of these are true and one's false, if I said Matt Gaetz nominated to be Attorney General and Lauren Boebert nominated to be Department of Education Secretary, whatever, which one would you actually believe? You wouldn't even know. Like they both seem like they're fiction. That's how outlandish this is to
Lauren
me.
Boebert? Is that?
No.
I know that's a rumor.
No. That was a satire piece on X that really got me. I read the whole thing and I was like, I believe this. And then at the end it was like, just kidding. I'm like, no, I believe it though. That's how crazy we are.
Because of the Matt Gaetz situation.
Exactly.
I was like, there's no way. Okay, yeah. So Matt Gaetz nominated for Attorney General.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can do it, April. You can do it.
Matt Gaetz, who's still under an ethics investigation for
sex trafficking, potentially.
Sex trafficking, and a lot of with minors as well.
Yes. Like protect the children until they're on our side. These people, but honestly, are we surprised about this? Because the evangelical church turns a blind eye to sexual predators all the time. At this point, it's not even a surprise. It's part of the DNA of this world, right? They do not care about protecting kids. They don't care about that. They care about utilizing that mantra and propaganda to aim it at their opponents, which is why Ali Sucky, for example, will spread all kinds of conspiracies about how immigrants are so dangerous and then ignore the dozens and hundreds of stories that come out every month of white pastors who molest children. Anyway, I digress. Continue on.
Yeah. Okay, Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democratic House member. She ran for president in 2020. She's got very close ties to Russia.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She's nominated as the director of national intelligence, which is actually kind of terrifying.
Yep.
With knowing her ties to Russia.
Yep.
Lee Zeldin as the EPA administrator, which is supposed to help us for the environment, but I'm pretty sure he's not really a conservation type of dude. Let's see. He voted against clean water legislation at least a dozen times and clean air legislation at least a half a dozen times, according to a scorecard from the League of Conservation Voters. So,
yay! Can't wait.
This is going to do so much damage to any progress we've made to fight climate change,
which is not much, by the way. We've done very little.
No, I know, but ugh. I not to be doom and gloom, but climate change, I can't even focus on climate change right now because
I know.
Which I feel like that's our winter is coming. I mean, you haven't seen Game of Thrones, right?
Nope, because I'm a Christian, a good holy Christian.
Shut up. Climate change are the White Walkers in the north that are about to break through the wall, but no one can focus on it in Westeros because we're all trying to get the crown in King's Landing, and there's all this infighting.
Yes, you nailed it. I completely track with that.
The people that watch Game of Thrones will get it. Anyway, moving on.
Next.
Okay, who's that? Michael Waltz? Is that his? I can't. Is that
Waltz? I'm sure he's problematic somehow.
I don't know who that is, but he's the National Security Advisor. John Ratcliffe, Director of the CIA. Elise Stefanik, the UN Ambassador. Thomas Homan for Border Security. And then you've got Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are being appointed to lead a brand new department called the Department of Government Efficiency. And I will say initially I was like, this is bad. But listen, it's not an actual government agency. It's going to be a department outside the government. And it sounds like it's going to be more of a consulting role. So I don't know how much power these two are actually going to have in this department. They'll have sway and influence for sure, but I think they'll still have to follow the chains of command to get anything done.
Well, also it stands for the acronym that spells out is Doge, like Dogecoin, the Bitcoin thing that Elon was pumping up that totally robbed people a lot of money. So it's like the all we can do is laugh. I can't cry because I can't do anything about it. I'm just going to laugh. I'm going to laugh at the absolute circus that this is shaping up to be so far, and will only get worse. I mean, we're only like a week and a half in.
Yeah. So let's and then not on here. So these are all people that well, not all of them, but
wait, we don't have Mike Huckabee. This one's missing a few because Mike Huckabee isn't on here.
Yeah. So some of those.
List?
Okay.
No, you're good. I'm listening. I'm just talking to myself.
Yeah. Well, if you want, you can just pull up the article that I put of Mike Huckabee if you want to go to him.
Yeah, I got that.
Some people he's named don't have to go through an approval process, and some people have to be approved by the Senate. Mike Huckabee does not have to be approved. He can just be picked. So Mike Huckabee,
he's the ambassador to Israel, right?
Yes. He is a self-proclaimed Zionist who is now our ambassador to Israel. He has long been very vocally against a two-state solution. He doesn't even, here it says in a recent interview, Huckabee said he did not believe in referring to Arab descendants of people who lived in the British-controlled Palestine as Palestinians, saying there really isn't such a thing.
Oh my gosh.
And he has described himself as an unapologetic, unreformed Zionist. So that is really not good for what's going on in Palestine, for Palestinians and people in Gaza. It's terrible. Not good.
No, it's horrible. I mean, you're putting someone in charge who doesn't even acknowledge that Palestinians exist as a people. There are some clips of him floating around too, of him talking about how the land of that the land of Palestine isn't even their land. Like it is historically, it should be all the Jewish people's land, like just 100%, like not even a question. He says there's no such thing as a West Bank, no such thing as Gaza. Like it's Judea, it's Samaria. Like it's that kind of language. I mean, this guy is a fundamentalist evangelical Christian who's a blatant Christian Zionist.
I think he used to be I think he used to be a pastor. He also hosts a show on TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network.
Totally.
Which, by the way, he's been pushing MAGA and Trump on his TBN show, which is a Christian show, and he does it from this like pastoral kind of like grandpa angle. Mike Huckabee, which I sadly used to like back when I was Republican, when he was governor of Arkansas, he's done so much damage. And I think I just want to highlight too the whole rapture theology, belief in postmillennialism, and how Israel is tied up in that. That theology literally kills, because you have people like Mike Huckabee who believe that all of Israel, like his beliefs are formed by that theology, and that all that land belongs to Israel, like full stop, because of biblical end times prophecy. And they want Jesus to come back. And the only way Jesus comes back, according to biblical prophecy, is the Jews have to have control of all of that land. And that's why they are so pro-Israel, even to the point of nonstop genocide of an entire people group, because they want it is such a selfish theology, and it literally kills. And
it's also anti-Semitic, because most of them believe that most Jews are going to be slaughtered at some point in the end times.
Yes.
And then from that slaughter, the rest will be converted to Christianity. Like if
144,000, they literally believe only 144,000 Jews will be saved, and the rest will die along with everybody else.
These people they do not give a shit about Jewish people. They care about using them as a means to an end. That is what this is about, 100%. And all it does is cause more and more bloodshed. One other person I wanted to highlight that we didn't mention is Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. This is the guy at the Madison Square Garden rally who said that America is for Americans and Americans only, echoing the sentiments of what someone in Nazi Germany said about what Germany is for. So I'm just saying, like, one of the things that really concerns me is that I don't like that I don't like being proven right about catastrophic things. When we tell people that Trump would bring, people who are very much white nationalist centric or really hardline fundamentalist Christians into positions of power, and you see people like Huckabee saying Palestinians don't exist, or Stephen Miller saying America is for Americans and Americans only, which, by the way, who are the Americans? Like, have you read the Statue of Liberty plaque? Have you read what we say on the Statue of Liberty? Like, that doesn't mean immigrants. It means
also,
white people.
Also, we took this land. We literally just stole this land.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, okay, the other person we have to talk about, boy, oh boy, oh boy, is Pete.
Who do you want to start with? Yeah.
Well, okay, you know what? Let's leave Pete for the last. Let's do Matt Gaetz briefly. Most people know already. Matt Gaetz is, I mean, he's just such a character. The fact that he got nominated for this position, so he's under an ethics investigation in the House, and the investigation is looking into if he actually was found violating sex trafficking laws. Okay. And so this is not a great person. A lot of suspicion around him. There was an investigation. He was cleared because they found that they were concerned that the witnesses wouldn't be credible on the stand, but the House investigation continued to find some other things and wanted to keep investigating. He has since resigned from the House, which therefore kills the ethics investigation. And it's just, again, it just proved, April, once again, it just demonstrates how these people do not care about what they say they care about. They don't care about saving children. They don't care about sexual purity or family values. They have no problem tolerating and promoting people who, again, are not just like, oh, I had an affair. No, you're looking at potential sex trafficking charges. That's a big freaking deal. And there are people in the government who have talked about Matt Gaetz and how they've seen videos of Matt doing drugs and like sleeping with people. And now, again, that's unsubstantiated. I don't have like hard evidence of that, but it seems like it's kind of an open secret in politics about Matt Gaetz. And Trump goes, hey, how about we do Matt Gaetz for Attorney General? Like, is he even qualified? Yeah. And this is one of the points I wanted to make. That's so key. All of this complaining about how DEI puts unqualified people in positions of power, again, every accusation is a confession. Trump has essentially stacked his cabinet pick, not with qualified individuals, but with all of the yes men, all of the loyalists. This is not a meritocracy like how everyone claims this should be. Matt Gaetz is not the most qualified person for Attorney General, nor is
nowhere near even close.
Right. Nor is many of these people are not the most qualified, but they're all Trump loyalists. They all, since the beginning, gave Trump what he wanted. That is not meritocracy. That is exactly what they're accusing other people of doing. It's higher because I like you, because I'm going to give you preferential treatment, not based on the content of your heart or character, but because you're a loyalist to me and to me only. Gosh, it's crazy.
I will say a silver lining, maybe.
Go ahead.
And these are, if Trump keeps pulling people from the House, won't they have to do special elections? And
I think so.
Maybe
I'm not sure how it all works, but that would be great.
Yeah. So.
But we just had an election where America gave Republicans everything. I mean, literally, Republicans have the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the presidency, and they elected a madman to run the whole show. Like the ringleader of this circus is one of the craziest that you've ever seen, and who has absolutely no sense of how things work, no sense of how government works, just cares about putting loyalists in to give him the power that he wants. Oh my gosh, like it's just it's unbelievable.
I will say though, there was a spike in Google searches that was, can I change my vote? In red states. So I think there's some people already having some buyer's remorse, because a lot of, like, I've been seeing online several people in different forums saying that they're really happy that Trump is getting rid of Obamacare, but they really hope he doesn't do anything with the Affordable Care Act because they need that. Like, they didn't know that is Obamacare. I do think just a lot of people are just not informed, especially if you're only listening to right-wing media. And do you know what I mean? Like, and there was a spike in Google searches on election day that was, did Joe Biden drop out? So I think, initially I felt so overwhelmed by the election results, because I was like, oh my gosh, this was a slaughter. All these people chose Donald Trump. Like, they saw who he is and they chose him. And I do think that's true for a lot of people, for sure. But it is not the overwhelming majority that it felt like. And I think, too, in the most recent numbers, if you take more people voted against Donald Trump, if you account all the third party votes, too, then voted for Donald Trump. So it's not like I still think we have more numbers.
I mean, but it's like, even if we do, it's too little too late. Like, the decision has been made. You don't get a take back.
Right. No, I get that. But what I'm saying is, if these special elections start happening in the next year, I think there is a good chance people seeing the chaos that's happening in Washington will flip a lot of these seats.
Do you think that like the Democratic establishment is going to wake up? Do you think that's a thing? I've been thinking about this a lot, April. I don't know, because I'll be honest with you, and this is going to be unpopular for some people, and I acknowledge that, but I left fundamentalism, and I'm not going back to a new form of fundamentalism. Some of the takes I've seen from Democratic, leaders, or like even people rank and file and some progressive influencers, I'm not super impressed. I'm like, really? You're really going to blame everyone else but your own party for being complicit in this? Like, I'm not here for that. I'm not, and I said this last time on the show. I think that largely responsible for this mess is the propaganda from right-wing media, and we're going to show a graph demonstrating the disparity. I definitely think that the Republican Party, for allowing Trump to do what he did, for sure. But also, if Trump is that bad and you lost to Trump twice, something is wrong. Something is wrong. I'm sorry. Something is wrong with how, maybe it's your messaging, maybe it's you're putting up for the presidency. I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. But if we're not willing to look at our own, or if we're not willing to look at the other party as well and say, well, maybe you guys dropped the ball on some stuff. If we're going to just pretend that's everyone else's fault but ours, I'm not here for that, because in my life, I try and be accountable. I try and be introspective. I try to think about what could we be doing better as well. And I'm not here for the take of, oh no, Joe Biden did a great job. Everyone did a great job. It's the American voters' fault. It's whatever. There could be elements of all that, for sure. Now, I'm not even saying Joe Biden did a bad job in office, but my God, the way it was communicated, branded, whatever, was an absolute colossal failure, and the votes showed that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020. I do think they could have learned from what happened in 2016, and they did not learn that lesson. Yeah, I agree with you. The Democrats they are to blame for a lot of this, for sure. But I also just think Trump's like this perfect storm too, of like, he tapped into people's fears and people's anger that had been living there, maybe even below the surface, for years and years and years. People that felt like they were being forgotten in this more progressive push. Yeah. And then and Democrats too, I felt like, they were trying to appeal to Republicans that were disenchanted with Trump, and they got a lot of those people, but then they lost a lot of, more progressive people. So they're just playing by the old rules. They're playing by the rules that they've always played for, and Republicans have thrown out the rules. So,
I think that's true. And also, I think we have to acknowledge that there is a Democratic establishment that has a lot of corporate funding that also helps to keep things the status quo. I'm sorry. I have to say that. And again, I know for a fact I'm going to get some emails about it. I understand all that. I'm not saying that they're equivalent. I'm not saying that the Democrats are just as bad as Republicans. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that the Democrats have had super majorities many times. And for some reason, here we are in 2024, all these years later, and many of us are still struggling just to make it happen in America. We're still struggling to put food on the table. We're struggling to pay our rent, to pay our mortgages. We have to go into more and more debt. Everything now is subscription-based. The gig economy absolutely sucks for workers. We can't get guaranteed affordable health care. I'm sorry. At some point, we have to ask ourselves, well, yes, maybe Republicans are blatantly opposed to some of those things, but what happened when Democrats got power and didn't pass some of this stuff? I'm just saying, we have to be able to at least have the conversation.
I know, I totally agree. Also, hindsight's 2020. I think we've consistently underestimated Trump because he's Trump, and he says insane things sometimes, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I will say this: Joe Biden has 2 months to try to put some safety net in place.
Please.
I hope there are Democrats saying 2 months, do something. Something. There's got to be things that he can do to put some guardrails in place, even if it just slows it down.
I do want to show this graph, and then we're going to get into our final cabinet pick that I think might just be the one that I'm most concerned about. But speaking of influencer culture and stuff, Wired magazine did this graph in August 15, 2024, a visual guide to the influencers shaping the 2024 election. You know, April, you and I have talked a lot about how right-wing media is so powerful and dominates social media and dominates in certain digital spaces that left-wing media, and I don't mean mainstream media, by the way. CNN is not left-wing. They are moderate, maybe 1 degree to the left, tops. But ABC, CBS, same thing. I'm talking about left-wing media. And this graph, I think, really demonstrates the disparity between the two. And I want to play a game with you, April. I want to know how many of these left-wing influencers you've heard of, okay? So what it is, here's the bubble. This is all left-wing influencers. And the bigger the bubble, the more influence they have. So, for example, V, Under the Desk News, who I know you and I both follow.
Yes.
They have a follower count of 3.1 million followers, okay? And so they have a pretty decent-sized bubble. So you have all these different accounts here. The biggest one is someone named Carlos Eduardo Espinina. And his follower count is 10 million on TikTok. I'm curious though, April, have you ever heard of Carlos?
I haven't, actually.
Have you ever heard of Joshua Rush?
No.
Audience, how about you? Ever heard of Harry Sisson?
I have heard of him.
Okay, how about Hassan Piker?
No.
Okay, how about Josh Helfgott?
I have not.
Okay, how about John Cooper, not from Skillet? John Cooper, the left.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard of him. No, I don't think I have.
All right, let's do a few more. Amani Barbarin.
No.
Okay. Olivia Giuliano.
Yes.
Okay. So you've heard of a few of these. All
and,
right.
And Brian Tyler Cohen.
Yes.
I've heard of
Sorry,
him.
Brian.
And Walter Masterson.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I can't read the smaller bubbles, but.
Michael McHorter, Ron Filipowski. I know who he is.
I know who that is too.
Okay. So that's your left-wing bubble. And by the way, these follower counts, the biggest one is 10 million. Keep that in mind, okay? On the right wing, tell me if you heard of some of these names. You ready? Elon Musk.
Yes.
Steven Crowder.
Yes.
Benny Johnson.
Yes.
Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
Jake Paul.
No.
Logan Paul.
Yes.
Dave Rubin.
No.
Okay. Andrew Tate.
Ugh, yes.
Charlie Kirk.
Ugh, yes.
Ben Shapiro.
Yes.
Candace Owens.
Yes.
Tim Pool.
Yes.
Jack Posaic.
Oh, yeah, he's the Q guy.
Benny Johnson.
You said him already.
Sorry, Jackson Hinkle.
No, I've not heard of him.
Good. Well, he only has 2.7 million followers, so no big deal, right? Elon Musk has 193 million followers because he bought a literal social media platform. Logan Paul, 23 million followers. So if you're looking at this graph on YouTube, these bubbles, even though they look similar in size to the ones on the left, actually mean a lot more as far as the follower count goes. So when you actually put this in comparison, when you combine these two graphs, here's what it looks like. There you go. So Carlos Eduardo Espina, the biggest left-wing influencer on TikTok, is one of the smaller bubbles on this graph out of everyone, right? So you can see that right-wing voices dominate the social media influencer world. And by the way, all of these, Andrew Tate, Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk now, Ben Shapiro, usually claim some type of faith, and they usually pander to right-wing conservative Christianity, right? So Elon Musk said recently, yeah, I embrace the teachings of Jesus, which is a complete joke. Tucker Carlson claims to be a Christian. Andrew Tate, now I believe is Muslim, but started out as a Christian. Logan Paul, Jake Paul, all have some kind of faith element, etc. So Steven Crowder, another one. So not only is there a massive right-wing media sphere that is dominating, they all are also faith-based, or not all, most of them have some kind of faith-based element. That is not the case for left-wing spaces. There is nothing that is faith-based that also is an influencer in the left that can even compete with what's happening in the right. So yeah, this is absolutely, in my opinion, this is the biggest reason why Democrats got shellacked, because they couldn't own the messaging. They were completely outgunned on social media by these people. And the Democratic establishment did not put much money, time, or effort into putting Harris in front of influencer after influencer. Harris did a few. I know for a fact that she did Sharon Says So, and she did Call Her Daddy. Great. And I know that the DNC had like an influencer section, okay? I get that. But way too little, way too late compared to what the right-wing media world was doing, especially with Trump. I mean, Trump was on Joe Rogan, on Theo Von, right? All these big shows. So I think that ultimately that was a huge factor in this election.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of the people on the right wing, they push their rhetoric in the form of a holy war. Like they make it about good versus evil. And there's definitely some of that on the left. We call, Trump fascist, but the thing is, like, those are based on Trump's actual words and actions and things.
Right.
Like it's based more in fact, where right wing, it's very much based on they tap into your fears of the other, and they weaponize scripture to make it like, no, we are the side of Christian values. We're the side of biblical values. And that is something that is a critique I've always had of Democrats. I mean, even when I was Republican, like one reason that I was able to stay and believe the idea that only, you have to vote Republican if you're a Christian is because I only ever heard about God and the importance of faith really from the right. I mean, yes, you would hear it from Democrats some, and like, God bless America, or my faith is important, but it was very watered down. And I'm not saying, for the record, that they should be, being the left version of Christian nationalism, because they absolutely should not. But they have not figured out how to tap into people's religious beliefs from like I think we saw it a little bit in this election when you had evangelicals for Harris, or you had Christians for Harris, where it's just like, hey, here's a way to interpret scripture that can leave you, that can have you choose a different path to vote. Like it's okay to vote Democrat. Like, I feel like we kind of were just starting to get that messaging across. But it is hard. It is hard to get through the propaganda when people believe they are in a war and that God is on their side.
Totally. And you and I have talked about this. I'm thinking about what's our messaging next year. How do we continue to evolve our approach? I'll be honest, April, and by the way, friends, I would love to hear from you in the comments on this. I'm not aware of any show format that is at the intersection of faith, politics, and culture the way that we are, because we very much are like a pundit kind of talk show format, but we're also heavy into the Christian faith. And so our views come from our allegiance to Jesus, but also we're engaging in politics and culture in some kind of show format. And I'm not aware of anyone else who's doing things like that. Maybe the Holy Post for sure, but like, I feel like we're a little more talk showy sometimes. I don't know. If you have other people, please tag them. I'd love to start collaborating and working with them, because we have to think about what does it look like to really get people more and more online and to get the funding, right, to fuel this stuff. Elon Musk is a billionaire. The man bought Twitter, then he tanked Twitter, but he bought it. And it's easy when you have billions of dollars to throw behind your stuff, right? When you can support, people don't understand something. Let me just speak like some insider baseball for a second. Some of these content creators get paid, as we found out with the Tenet media investigation, $100,000 per episode. They get paid that, $400,000 per month. And I'm like, guys, if there's anyone out there who's rich, let me tell you something. If you want to get a few left-wing content creators really going, if you offered them $10,000 a month, a fraction of what those other guys make, they would do whatever you want. They'd be like, yep, no problem. I will have 10 grand a month. I will make content every day, whatever you want me to do. We do not need billions of dollars, but we do need money. Like, we need $1 million plus. I have a budget that for us to do what we want to do on the level we want to do it, we need a minimum starting $1 million. And that sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people, and it's a lot of money to me. It's not going to my pocket. But by the time you factor production cost, staff cost, a producer, editing, etc., that money, it adds up. And that's what you need to make a show actually work consistently. You need $1 million. You need $2 million. And a lot of these right-wing people have access to those kinds of piggy banks. No problem. They have donors who will write them a $10 million check. I know for a fact, because I talked to the then director of Turning Point Faith, that's this the faith arm of Turning Point USA, that one or two donors wanted more faith-based content and essentially donated the money for Turning Point to launch TPUSA Faith. Think about that. Just gave them the millions that they needed to launch a whole separate wing of Turning Point. So, yeah. I'm not surprised that we're outgunned and outmanned and outfunded. Look at the reality.
And we have to again talk about Russia in all of this.
Russia. At
least 6 conservative influencers, including Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and Benny Johnson, were being secretly funded by Russian state media employees to basically push their propaganda. And they claim they didn't know it was Russia, but it was like Russia has been interfering in our political process. I mean, Donald Trump called it the Russian hoax back in 2016, but Russia was 100% influencing the election in favor of Donald Trump.
Did you see what he said? I'm gonna pull it up.
Putin?
Yeah.
Putin?
When Trump won?
Oh, yeah, but tell us all.
Tonight, President-elect Trump.
That's not what I want. That's the wrong thing. Putin praised Trump, saying, hey, this is a new world order is emerging after Trump got elected. A new world order. Doesn't that sound familiar? Weren't we taught to fear the globalist agenda that wanted to create a new world order? Now all of a sudden, Putin, the man, oh my God, one of the most corrupt men in the world, who runs Russia, right? Who, by the way, is in bed with the Russian church. Different discussion, but noted. Says, congratulations, Trump. A new world order is emerging. And Christians are like, yes, bravo. It's never about principle. There's no principle in these spaces. You don't get to tell people like me and you, April, our whole life to watch out for the globalist agenda that wants to remake the world in their image, a new world order, and then celebrate and be like, yeah, no big deal that Putin said a new world order is emerging. If you believe in an antichrist, how do you not see the antichrist level of the language being used? I mean, this is Left Behind Kirk Cameron edition happening in real time. And Christians are like, yes, bravo.
I was literally told I could not vote for Joe Biden in 2020 because he would usher in a new world order.
Don't you just hate it?
I know. There's this meme online, and I've seen a few people like say something similar too. So I don't know where it originated, but they're like, you know what? For my entire life, people have said to watch out for the Antichrist. We'll see him coming. We're going to see the Antichrist coming. And the Antichrist shows up and you buy a Bible from him.
That's right.
It's a joke. But no, I will say there's something very
funny,
obvious.
It's true.
Yes. People.
Well, let's get to the grand finale here. I want to talk about Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense that just got elected. And folks,
the Fox News guy.
Not to say that April and I know what we're talking about, but one of the concerns we had with the Trump presidency, and I've said this many times, is not Trump himself, although that's problematic. It's who he would bring into office. And the fact that people like Doug Wilson and people in the far, right theonomy world are linked into this stuff terrifies me. And that chicken has come home to roost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up. This is from Matthew Taylor. Matthew Taylor is an amazing scholar of Christian nationalism, tracks this stuff really well. Ironically, I'm actually bringing him into studio after our conversation, April. He's driving right now to my studio. We're going to do a full interview that will drop end of this month, so make sure you subscribe to the channel or listen to the podcast. But he did a whole thread on Pete Hegseth. I'm going to read this just kind of word for word. There are pictures here, so make sure you're watching on YouTube so you can see everything. But here's what Matthew Taylor said. It's so important to understand, folks, why, oh my God, this is just such a red alarm, a 5-alarm fire kind of situation. All right, here's Matthew. Yesterday, Trump announced he's nominating Pete Hegseth as his Secretary of Defense. Hegseth's a prominent Fox News personality and veterans advocate, but he also has strong ties to the Christian far right that I've not yet seen fully exposed yet. Here's a thread with receipts. 1. First, what's the Christian far right? It's a coalition of different Christian social movements bound together by aggressive theologies and often, but not always, white supremacy. This is the extreme militant end of the spectrum of what is popularly called Christian nationalism. Theologically and socially, there are at least 3 distinct major strands of the American Christian far right today, with lots of smaller ones too. The first one is the radical traditionalist Catholic network and influencers. That's Opus Dei. This is when we covered the guy who said that abortion is a sacrament of Satan. Think about that, friends, okay?
Oh, at the Kamala's rally.
Yes, when he was heckling. That's who we're talking about here. That's number one. Number two, independent charismatic celebrity, spiritual warfare, and apostolic networks, often simplistically labeled the NAR. This is my area of expertise and what his book is about. By the way, it's called The Violent Take It by Force, really worth reading. Okay, back to Matthew's tweets. These networks are known for charismatics and practices and focus on revival. Okay, the third major strand of the Christian far right is the Reformed Reconstructionist networks of churches and leaders. This is the world of the so-called theobros, usually bearded, chauvinistic, hyper-Calvinist male influencers. These are the circles Hegseth travels in, and he's absolutely right. There's an article that he wrote, I'll put the link in the show notes, that talks about this. Reformed Reconstructionists tend to emphasize postmillennial eschatology, i.e., building the kingdom of God on earth, theonomy, applying biblical law to everyday society, alternative education, homeschooling, or classical Christian academies. The word classical education is very key here. Exclusive male leadership and masculinity. In this 2023 profile of Hegseth for a local Tennessee magazine, he describes reading Doug Wilson, the godfather today of the Reformed Reconstructionist movement, sending his kids to a classical Christian academy and finding the fortification of brotherhood. Friends, remember when I told you that my concern is that people like Doug Wilson would be so close to the presidency? Here you go. Pete Hegseth is someone who reads and follows Doug's work and cites it as a good thing. Let's keep going. Hegseth apparently attends Pilgrim Hill Reformed Fellowship in Tennessee, led by Brooks Pottinger and Joshua Hames. We've covered him before on the show many times too. Joshua Hames. He's a pastoral intern. This church is part of the denomination founded by Doug Wilson. Hegseth has been a guest on Hames and Pottiker's podcast, Reformation Red Pill. Doesn't get much more far-right Reconstructionist than that. And as recently as last month, he was promoting their podcast. So Pete Hegseth, the man who is tied into the Trump presidency directly now, is promoting stuff by Joshua Hames, the same guy who said things like, if you're wearing yoga pants, stop doing it. I mean, Joshua Hames is so problematic for so many reasons. If you want to go to his Twitter, you can. We've covered him before. I'm not going to repeat it now. But this is someone in the world of Doug Wilson. It's so dangerous. Let's keep going. Last year, Hegseth also promoted an Advent devotional published by Hames and Pottiker's Forge Press. Forge Press says it arms Christians with tools and weapons to build, defend, and expand the new Christendom. This is textbook Reconstructionist. Christendom for Reformed Reconstructionists is the ideal Christian society, the physical territory controlled and governed by conservative Christian morality and leaders. This is why you often find Reconstructionists justifying the Crusades, the iconic expansion of Christendom, which they do. Okay, they do. And sure enough, Hegseth has 2 Crusader tattoos, a Jerusalem cross, the symbol of the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem on his chest, and I'm going to mispronounce this, Deus Vult, the Crusaders' theological creed de corps, God wills it, on his bicep. Deus Vult means God mandated Crusaders' violence. This guy has that tattooed on him. Let's keep going. These Crusaders tattoos are part of the Christian far-right iconography, and when Hegseth's National Guard unit was called up to serve in D.C. for Biden's inauguration, Hegseth and several other service members were told they couldn't serve because of their extremist tattoos.
Wow.
Let me see. Okay. In 2018, Hegseth was speaking in Israel and said, quote, "There's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible. This is a far-right Christian Zionist fantasy that the Muslim holy sites can be removed. The idea that some entity, the U.S. or Israel, could raise the third holiest site in Islam, Dome of the Rock, Haram al-Sharif, to build the third Jewish temple is the sort of wild scheme you read about in bad Christian apocalyptic novels."
Right. Oof.
So I had to share that with you all because this dude is a freaking Doug Wilson acolyte who now is in charge of defense.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about that. This guy has Crusader tattoos on him. He's part of a far right. It's called the Reformed Red Pill podcast. How much more extreme? How much more Andrew Tate adjacent can you get? This is the same guy who says women should not be able to serve in combat. This guy's overseeing defense.
We said Christian nationalism was on the ballot this year.
We absolutely did. I hate to be right about this. I hope I'm so wrong. I hope that there are checks and balances. I hope that none of this actually manifests, but step by step, as we've been telling you, this is becoming a reality. It's a major problem.
It is a major problem. We're going to be keeping an eye on it. You know, I have to hope. I have two hopes.
Please give me
this.
the hope. Give me the hope as I'm yelling behind my microphone.
Yeah. So, one, there are still people in the Senate. You've got Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, like Republicans, and hopefully a few more that are not all in on MAGA. You know, they may have said some MAGA things to keep their seats, but we can hope that there's some guardrails, right? I'm not putting all my hope in that, but listen, we're going to find hope where we can find hope. So, we just got to hope that there are some adults in the room and that some people listen to the adults. The other hope is that Pete is not qualified for that position. Matt Gaetz, sure as hell, is not qualified to be Attorney General. Elon and Vivek, who knows what they're going to be doing in their little made-up department over there. But you know what all these people have in common?
What?
They are all narcissistic alpha males.
Yep.
And alpha males typically don't always play nice with each other. There's a lot of competition. I know of a lot of people in the Republican Party, even really big Trump supporters, that do not like Matt Gaetz. Yep. Do you remember the debacle when Mike Johnson finally became speaker, but that was only because they downvoted Kevin McCarthy like 3 times?
Yep.
That kind of stuff. We're going to be seeing a lot of that. It's going to be a circus. And I'm kind of just hoping that all these big egos and this infighting and just really people not knowing what they're doing. And this is not like an insult to them. I wouldn't know what I was doing if you made me Attorney General because I'm not qualified for that. It would just be chaos because I'm not qualified for that position. That's not where my training comes from. So you're going to have all these people, these alpha males, these narcissistic people in roles they're not qualified for, and they will have no idea what they are doing. It's going to be chaos. And my hope is that it is so chaotic that it slows down the more extreme, harmful policies. Now, that does damage is going to happen. This is not good. There's just no way around it. Damage will be caused. But my hope is that it's just going to be so chaotic and so many people, and people are just they're going to be the idiocy will be so strong that it'll slow down the damage. Not that it'll get rid of it all.
Yeah. But
I do think, and we saw that the revolving door, Trump's first term, Sean Spicer didn't last that long. He ended up hiding in the bushes. People totally forgot who Sean Spicer was because that was so long ago. There's going to be a revolving door of people. And, prepare for the worst. We hope that they basically take themselves down.
Yep. That's right. Right. If it's a circus, hopefully all the clowns get nothing done. Right. Hopefully they can't figure it out. Right. Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And April, you and I are going to be here every Friday covering this stuff. We're going to be here with the audience. We're going to be walking you through it. I know it's intense. I know we're feeling all kinds of things. We are working behind the scenes to think about the 2025 content strategy for New Evangelicals. We are working on trying to amplify more and more voices as we've done this past year. Frankly, we've amplified so many new voices. We're going to be doing more. We're opening up our Instagram channel to more voices now. So we're working on it, friends. I don't just complain. I try and use that as motivation to get stuff done. And we are going to be here the whole way through, walking you through it, giving you hopefully well-informed content, and also having some fun along the way, letting you know that you're not alone, because I get it. We know how lonely this journey is. I know how it feels to lose community. I know how it feels to wake up and be like, what world are we living in? April and I totally understand that. So, my ask is kind of twofold. Number one, if you're enjoying the show, please subscribe to the channel. We really are going to be investing heavily in YouTube next year. I think that YouTube is needs to become our main platform where we're posting content consistently that just helps people navigate all of this. And frankly, as a nonprofit, the way we're able to do this work is because of the generosity of the community. And what we've been asking people to do is to set up a monthly recurring donation of $5. That's it. $5, because if thousands of people do that, we can have the funding we need to continue to build out the work that we're doing. Right now it's me and April trying to make this work every single Thursday, but we need to get a little more organized. We need a producer. We need someone who can kind of help us be a little more thought out in how we present the content. And that requires money. That it just does, right? For us to pay people fairly and equitably, we need funding to do it. So if you be so kind, especially as we come up to the end of the year, any donation helps, but a $5 a month donation is so helpful. And all donations are tax deductible. We are a nonprofit in the U.S. So, those are just some needs. People always ask, how can I help? How can I get involved? What can we do? Support creators and organizations that you believe in. We do not have billionaire funding. We don't even have millionaire funding, as far as I'm aware. We have grassroots funding, and we have ad revenue, which right now is not much. So any bit really helps. There will be a link in the show notes, and that's how you can get involved. Again, many hands make light work. So we're not asking for you to give us $100 a month or $5,000. I mean, if you have that money, that'd be great. I would love that. But $5 a month, we all chip in. That's how we get this stuff done. And listen, it's going to be a grind. We have a very intense couple of years coming up, friends. Yeah. But that should make us motivated to reorganize, to be able to hold our own accountable, to look at what happened as objectively as possible, and then to make the shifts to get ready for 2028 and to think about how do we do all we can to minimize any damage that would harm our neighbors, while also giving people hope that there's a better way possible, and that there are voices out there like ours and many others that are doing the work. So that's kind of my elevator pitch, but we have to think about that now. We have to get motivated. Yeah. Another thing I think we have going for us, silver lining, I guess, is I'm loving the positivity. Listen, I am a glass half full type of person. I need that in my life, April. I need it in my life, so I'll take it. We have to find things to laugh about. We have to find the hope. Yeah. Being doom and gloom every moment of every day for the next 4 years is unsustainable. All it does is make us all depressed, and it doesn't actually do any good. And I'm not downplaying the doom and gloom of it all, because it is absolutely there. But that's just, I can't live in that for my own sanity. Sure. I have to find, there are places where there's hope. There are good things still happening. What I was going to say though, I think we are going to see another big surge of deconstruction happening. There are people sitting in churches this past Sunday when their pastors and their church generally was celebrating the election results, that we're hearing that still small voice, feeling that tug in their gut that says something's wrong. I think there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people sitting in churches all across the country this past Sunday with that feeling. Yep. And more people are going to be waking up out of Christian nationalism. And, if you have those people in your life, being that person for them that's like, hey, like I was there too, like being a soft landing as people start leaving that world. I think we're going to see a lot of, especially when tariffs come into play and a lot of Trump policies they're going to be hurting Trump voters too. It's not like it's only hurting left people. Like people are going to be feeling the ramifications of a Trump presidency. And I think we're going to see a lot more people waking up out of that propaganda, realize and starting to ask questions. And, which is why the posture is so important, right? We have to have a posture of like, no, we share the same concerns. I don't want to turn people off by calling Trump voters stupid or dumb or whatever. Like we want to avoid that language on purpose, because I wasn't changed by being called a bigoted asshole online. That didn't work for me. Right. It was people's stories. It was people holding space for me that led me to a better path forward. And, part of the work that we do as new evangelicals is we hold space for folks marginalized by the evangelical church, and so we have to have that posture of like, hey, there's a better way forward, and we can hold space for you as you navigate that. It takes a long time to undo all of the wiring in your brain that comes from fundamentalism. So we have to be able to create and hold space for those people. Last thing I'll say too, most folks might not know that we have a robust Facebook community group that's private. We have a community map. You can sign up and see who's in your area and message them. If you go to our website, thenewevangelicals.com, you can make a free account and get access to all of that and more, including we do a weekly book club. We're doing your book right now, April, on Zoom. We do a theology Zoom group. So we have a lot of community resources. I have to get better at promoting them, but we have them. And we're working, again, on investing into making those even more robust for next year. And that's where donations really come in. It helps fund all of that work so we can hold space for people as they navigate that better path forward in their faith and are trying to make sense of what just happened to their own faith tradition, which is very much you and I's story, April, a couple of years ago, so.
Yeah. And if you want, if this whole world is still new to you, like maybe you're just watching us to learn, there are some great books out there that could give you tools, like Jesus and John Wayne gives a great history of Christian nationalism. Not to push my book, but Star Spangled Jesus, my book, really so like kind of, I've had people that have messaged me that said it's actually oddly brought them comfort in reading it, because not that it changes where we are, but it brings some understanding of just the mindset of how we got here. Because people did not vote for Trump because they are evil.
Right.
They voted for Trump because they believed he was God's chosen president. They believed that he was the good choice. And like you and I, like there was a kid in my neighborhood who was like 11 who was talking to you, and he listens to a lot of these right-wing podcasts that we talked about earlier. And he said, which granted, he's a kid,
he's a kid.
Like he's a kid. 11. He's 11. But he said, like, completely matter-of-factly, that Kamala Harris took an IQ test and she had the lowest IQ of any presidential candidate, which is just factually untrue.
Right.
That did not happen. Whoa. But like, you have a lot of people that believe that narrative, that literally just believe lies. Yeah. So knowing how to communicate and knowing the mindset of people that voted for Trump and why they voted for Trump is how we change. Because we have to speak their language, and we have to know why they did it. Pointing fingers and saying you're an idiot, or even calling people Nazis. These people are not Nazis deep down. Some of them are. Don't get me wrong. So, some of them definitely are. Yes. But your average voter just doesn't see it that way, which doesn't take away the damage they're caused. And I'm not saying that they don't have blood on their hands. Like, intention does not negate impact. And I'm not, they don't get away scot-free. But I'm just saying we have to understand why people voted for Donald Trump before we can get them to change. And actually, like, there has to be just a basic level of understanding before we can bring people away from fascism.
No, I completely agree. I mean, look, again, we talk about this often. If you want to know how we got here, I recommend, not that Trump is Hitler, I'm not saying that, but you can see the same playbook being utilized of how and why Hitler got so popular. He went from a fringe nobody, part of a fringe nobody, or like no-name party, to taking a lot of power, right? How does that happen? And again, it's not a matter of, we're not making a moral judgment. We're just saying, can we understand how it happened? Can we understand what the allure is for millions of people? That understanding will help us think about how do we change our messaging to meet that need, but to push people towards a better path, right? One that loves all their neighbors. Look, April, you and I want my Trump neighbors to have affordable health care. I want my Trump neighbors to be able to make a living and to have a retirement plan. I want their kids to have access to great, high-quality education. I want that for all of my neighbors, including the ones who voted for Trump, right? That also includes my immigrant neighbors and my trans neighbors and my BIPOC neighbors, etc. I want all of my neighbors to have access to what America can be.
Right.
That's the vibe. So I'm actually for my Trump neighbor. I want them to flourish. I don't think that Trump is going to help them flourish. I think that Trump is a huge con man, and Trump is a liar, and Trump is an instigator, and he's been fueled by a right-wing media empire funded by billionaires for their own self-interest. Yeah. Why do you think the world's richest man likes Trump? Why? Because he's going to hold that Elon accountable? No, because he's going to give Elon the power that he wants. Because Elon is a megalomaniac. I mean, his own daughter, right? I believe he has a trans daughter. Is that correct? Oh, boy. Let me just double check that. Fact check.
Hold on. I think you're right. Hold on. Let's see.
Yes, trans daughter. Thank you.
Yeah, trans daughter.
Whew. Did not want to make a mistake. But but Elon's trans daughter disowned him. These people do not have the family values in their own personal life that they claim to be bringing back to America. And I hope that charade gets exposed and that people realize that like all this talk is just talk to gain power. And when that happens, right, when people realize that they've been conned, because we've been there, April, you and I have been there, right? We've been in that moment where we go, wait a second, I thought we were on the same page. When that happens, I want to be here with open arms saying, I've been there. Yeah. Welcome to a better path forward. There's another way to think about this stuff, right? That actually might be more consistent with the teachings of Jesus that loves all of our neighbors.
Right. And we're going to be seeing too, like, if Donald Trump really gets rid of the Department of Education, like he says he's going to, there are a lot of Trump voters who have kids with disabilities and special needs that are going to be negatively impacted by the Department of Education going away. And those people will start to wake up because it's going to affect their children. And I don't think it's right to just laugh in their face and say, you did this, because they don't know. They have not been taught the ramifications of what a lot of this stuff means. Another big Google search was, what is a tariff? People thought tariffs, that like China would pay the tariff. They didn't know that it was American companies that pay the tariff. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be bad. One other little thing of hope.
Hopeful April, go ahead.
Hopeful April. Listen, I am pulling all the little pieces of hope that I can, because there's not a lot.
I and the audience appreciate it. So please keep going.
Trump is not Hitler. Hitler was a true believer in his quest. I think Trump could do a lot of damage. Trump is not a true believer in anything except himself.
Right.
And I think that, that is a good thing about Trump, that he is not a true believer. He literally just wants people loyal to him. He doesn't actually have a strong belief in really anything other than maybe money and power, which is still terrifying, especially when he's surrounding himself with Christian nationalist people. But he's already kind of done some infighting with the Christian nationalists to a degree, especially over abortion. So I think there's going to be some infighting, and it's not going to be the smooth sailing. On the other hand, I don't know if you've been feeling gaslit by Trump supporters coming into your comments being like, y'all are such, you're being so dramatic. It's so many DMs.
Great. I'm like, where are these people coming from? Like, dude, get out of my DMs. Yes, I've gotten many of those.
But here's the thing. I will gladly be wrong. Sure. I would love for Donald Trump to actually fix the economy. I would love for him to actually make life better for everybody. If that's true, great. I'll admit that I was wrong. I'll admit that I was being a sensationalist. I'm literally just taking him at his word.
Right.
But I will gladly be wrong about my rights being taken away. Like that's a good thing. I'm not going to cry about that being the possibility. So
100%.
I don't think that's the realism that we're facing, but I'll gladly be wrong. So
100%. So on that note, friends, we're going to get through this. I promise. We're going to get through it. It's going to be painful. There's going to be a lot of bumps along the way, but we are here every Friday. And this podcast happens at least twice a week now, if not 3 times a week, plus all of our other content, Instagram, TikTok. April's on TikTok and Instagram. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are going to be louder than ever. We are here all the way. Great show, April. So good. Any final thoughts, or are y'all good over there?
Don't be afraid to still have joy.
Joy is resistance.
Yes.
Cool.
Joy.
Friends, thanks for being here. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk next week. See ya.
Bye.